Welcome to today's lesson, which is on phrasal verbs with in. Now, I have actually done a lesson on phrasal verbs with in before, but I have decided that it's necessary to bring together a lot of information. I've been studying phrasal verbs in great detail with a student of mine. I'm sure he knows who he is. And I wanted to pull together a lot of what we've already learnt about a great number of phrasal verbs. And these are just the ones within. We've done literally hundreds more than this. But these are all very common phrasal verbs. And I wanted to start with chip in, which I came across by chance in one of the TV shows that I write lessons for. And TV shows are great for pulling together a lot of phrasal verbs because they use phrasal verbs all the time on TV, and it's because we use phrasal verbs all the time when we're talking to each other. And if you chip in the TV show, it was used in the meaning of to chip in some money. And when you chip in money, that means that you offer some money which will buy something with other people. So it's when several people decide to buy something together, which is actually go in on. They're very similar, go in on, but go in on gives you the object that you go in on. So if you go in on a pizza, you share the cost of a pizza. You all chip in £5 and buy a pizza for £20. So let's say there's 4 of you. You all chip in £5. You go in on a pizza. You share the cost of a pizza. Okay, so that's one meaning of chip in. And I thought that very often, well, there are a few other similar phrasal verbs. You can pitch in if you all decide to help together on a particular project or plan. So maybe you just need to tidy the house and every member of your family pitches in. It means that everybody does a little bit of work. So here you're sharing the work. You're not sharing the cost, but you're sharing the work. And there was one which is quite similar, but not exactly the same. If you need someone to help you with someone, if you need someone to help you with something, you may need to rope someone in. So let's say you don't have enough players for your football team, and so you decide to rope in a friend of yours. Yeah, it just means that it's a lasso phrasal verb, this. I don't know if you know what a lasso is, but it's a rope with a hole at the end that the cowboys would use for roping in the cattle. Well, it's that idea. It's metaphorically, you rope someone in, you throw your lasso and you pull them into the football game or whatever it is that you want to rope them into. So there's a lot of different things you could rope them in for. But basically you're including them, and inclusion is one of our other phrasal verbs down here. But before we go on to these ones, let's mention some of the phrasal verbs here, because chip in has a second meaning. If somebody chips in a comment, then that means that they chime in with a comment into the conversation. It means that they suddenly add, it's basically an interruption here, but it means they suddenly interrupt a conversation and add something. They chip in what they think about some kind of topic. They chime in. You can even say they butt in, which certainly means interrupt. If you say don't butt in, it means don't interrupt me. Don't butt in when I'm speaking. Yeah, so butt in, chime in and chip in, they all kind of mean interrupt. And if you barge in, you don't interrupt a conversation, but you interrupt people, what they're doing in a room. So this is very similar here to burst in. And you can barge, by the way, I put 2 in brackets here because you can barge into someone, and that means like use your shoulder to barge into them. When you're playing football players often barge into each other. It's part of the game. Somebody did it to me recently and it hurt my rib. Anyway, barge in, it's when somebody bursts into the room, but it has that second meaning. When you barge into someone, you just push into them. So these are quite similar as well. And then I thought about cut in, Because if somebody cuts in, that means that they butt in, they chime in, they chip in. I mean, chip in doesn't sound like so much of an interruption, and that's one of the nuances here with the phrasal verbs. It just sounds like they add something to the conversation, but butt in and cut in certainly sound like they interrupt. Chime in could be an interruption as well. It's more neutral, I think, chime in. But cut in has a second meaning. It doesn't just mean interrupt, it can also mean to push in, like in a queue. Okay, so if you push in, if you jump the queue and you join in the middle of the queue, then you cut in, you push in. So it can be used like push in as well. And of course, you shouldn't push in England because we're very good at queuing, so the stereotype says, and we don't like it when people push in. I certainly don't like it if I'm at the back and I see someone push in. Okay, there are several others which are similar to barge in or burst in, because when you barge into a room, when you barge in unexpected, very often you walk in on someone. And when you walk in on someone doing something, this is used for when you walk into the room and you see something that you shouldn't have seen. You see something clandestine. So you can walk in on a couple who are kissing. Yeah, perhaps they think they're having a secret kiss and you walk in on them. That means that you walk in and discover the secret clandestine activity that they were getting up to. It could be anything though. You can walk in on your boss when he's doing something bad or committing a crime or something like that. You walk in on him and catch him red-handed. Now I think this one is similar to all of these other ones here, because if you listen in on a conversation, you're listening in on a secret. You're listening in on something which you're not supposed to hear. So we say listen in on, which is like eavesdrop. It's different from over here, which is which is accidental. You don't do it on purpose. But when you listen in on a conversation, you're doing it on purpose. You're trying to hear some kind of secret which you're not supposed to hear. Now, if you are in on a secret plan, that means you are a party to secret information. You are part of the secret group who know this information. So let's say we're watching an episode of Sherlock, something like that. Sherlock might say that this criminal was responsible, but members of his family were in on it as well. And that means that they were also part of the crime. They helped him commit the crime. They were part of this secret clandestine plan. Okay, so to be in on something means to be part of the secret plan. If you muscle in on someone's business, it means you take away part of their business using aggression and force. So the mafia might muscle in on another family's territory or something like that. But you could muscle in on someone's business and you could muscle in on someone's territory. If you let someone in on a secret, you tell them a secret. You let them know about the secret plan, yeah? You are already in on it, and then you let your friend in on it. Okay, so all of those are pretty similar. That they're all in on, and they're all quite similar. Okay, we're going to come to those ones in a second. Let's move over here now. If you are in for something, it could mean that you are in for murder. So you're in prison for murder. That's one meaning of be in for. But another meaning is expect or anticipate would be another way of saying it. So I might say, if you don't study, you will be in for some bad marks. Or, if you don't study, you will come in for some bad marks. This one I think is rarer. It's perhaps archaic. Be in for, I think, is much more common nowadays for expect or anticipate. You can be in for, you can expect, you can anticipate bad marks. Now, if you blend in, this means that you become camouflaged, if you like. You very easily blend into the crowd. So when you blend in, you look like everybody else, or you look like your surroundings. So an animal which uses camouflage tries to blend in to its environment, yeah? And I suppose that's what it does have, that too, extra, blend into its environment. But if you're in another country, you may not want to look like a tourist, and so you might try and wear similar clothes to the local people in order to blend in. Now, blend in is purely physical appearance, but it's very similar to fit in, which is more to feel comfortable in your surroundings. Very similar to blend in, but it's when you feel comfortable in your surroundings. So some children, when they go to a new school, they don't feel comfortable in their surroundings. They don't fit in. They don't feel comfortable with the other children in the class. Yeah, then we would say that child doesn't really fit in. Or maybe you'll say it took him a few weeks and then finally he started to fit in. It means basically settle down and relax and be confident in your surroundings. The opposite of blend in, by the way, would be stand out or stick out. And we have an expression to stick out like a sore thumb. Stick out like a sore thumb. Strange expression, I know, a body idiom. And if you stick out like a sore thumb, you don't blend in at all. You are obvious. Just you are so obvious in comparison to everyone else around you. I imagine that if I go on the train to London in the morning wearing what I usually wear, I stick out like a sore thumb because everybody else is wearing their business suits, they're commuters, they're going to London to work, and I would stick out like a sore thumb.